Thanks for listening to episode 47 of the Unlockable podcast, where today Hannah and I are taking a look at 4 gaming franchises that were popular in Japan, but for one reason or another just didn't kick off in the West. I think we picked some good ones to talk about today, and it should be a good learning experience for you guys. We certainly learned a lot while taking notes. Please give us a positive rating on your podcast platform, and tell your best friend to listen to the show, and let's get it. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. It's episode 47, and I'm joined, as always, by the Game Girl Advance SP herself.
That's me.
How are you celebrating Pokemon Day, Hannah?
By just playing all sorts of Pokemon Go. I want the cute little characters with their cute little hats.
Did you play this weekend for Go Tour?
Me and my friend play, and we were out about doing whatever, and I was so confused. I didn't know how long the event was lasting. I didn't even realize that it changed, like the Pokemon changed every hour or whatever it was, and I was just really confused. Yeah. But yes, I did.
I actually was at Herman Park here in Houston, and it was packed, and everyone was just like staring at their phones, so I think it was a pretty big event.
What was super special about it?
So I'm usually on top of this crap, but I've been slacking lately. I don't know if this is the same thing as Go Fest, which they have every year, because they called this one Go Tour, but basically it was celebrating Gen 4 Sinnoh region, and I can't tell you much more than that. Like, it's like you said, they changed the Pokemon every hour. They had special raids going on for Dialga and Palkia. Just a lot of Gen 4 themed stuff. I don't know.
Well, I didn't know that Palkia or whatever has like a centaur version.
Right.
I was like, what is that? But yeah, definitely got those. It was fun.
Yeah. I got my steps in.
Very nice.
Yeah, I guess that's it. I would kind of have a lot of content written down. I have 10 pages of notes. I'm sure you have 20. So we should probably get into it.
Only 16.
How are you, though? How's life going?
Good. I've actually been playing a lot of games, so I know that's very surprising. I've started a few, finished a few. Yeah, that's pretty much been my life. What about you?
I don't feel like I've been slacking on playing games, but when I was taking notes for the been buying and been playing, I realized that I have not played a lot of games except for the one that we're covering next month, but we'll talk about that at the end.
It's your job.
Life is good, though, aside from the video game stuff. I feel like I've been making a lot of YouTube content, and that's always time-consuming, but it's a fun hobby.
Yeah, I saw that. Lighting up the Discord you are.
Today we want to talk about some gaming franchises that did not do so great here in the West, but they're pretty popular in Japan. We sat down a couple weeks ago, picked 4 game series. And I think it's going to be a good episode. I don't know. I didn't realize how time consuming this note taking process was going to be. Like, we didn't write a lot of bullet points for each game. Basically, what we're going to do is talk about the typical stuff, the gameplay, the genre, release date, all that crap. But then we're going to dive into like some development info, we're going to talk about like the majority of the games in the franchise. We're not going to discuss each game in each series. We're going to kind of just mention the first game, the last game, and the first one that actually released here stateside, and we'll brush over the others. We're going to talk sales numbers if they are available. We're going to discuss why we think a series didn't do so well here, and then you guys will get some fun facts per usual. Yep. But yeah, do you wanna get into the first one here, Hannah? What's our first game?
So our first one is Earth Defense Force, or EDF. And honestly, I didn't know anything about this game before I researched it. I thought it was like a mecha game, and you're like defending Earth from things, but that's actually another one on the list. But yeah, it's Earth Defense Force. It's a third-person shooter, also turn-based strategy, so there's kind of a shift there. In the beginning of the games of the franchise towards the end of the franchise. The storyline is basically defending the Earth from a hostile alien invasion. You're the Earth Defense Force, that's what you do. That's really the whole story. I mean, I didn't go super in depth onto all the games, but it's like, yeah, there's aliens, there's like insects coming down, there's like big old giant slugs coming down, whatever it is.
I was surprised with how many games are in this series, especially because I was surprised with how many actually came stateside as well. Because I feel like I've never heard anyone talk about these games. I've never
Mm-hmm.
experienced them myself. But yeah, why don't you give us a little information on the development of the first game?
Gotcha. So there's probably more than one reason why you haven't heard of this game. This game takes on a many names throughout the whole series, and it's actually
Yeah.
not even called Earth Defense Force. It's called Monster Attack over in Japan. Released in 2003. Obviously, did not come to the U.S., but it did go to Europe in 2004.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they got it and we didn't. It released for the PS2. Started as part of a series of budget titles in Japan known as the Simple series, or in this case, the Simple 2000 series, which is a successor to the PS1's Simple 1500 series. And it's basically just a line of like budget titles that were available for 2000 yen, which is about $20, so it's pretty normal, I suppose. And then obviously PS1 games are only $15, which is nice. It's a shame you don't have that anymore. Anyway, gameplay was inspired by classic Western and monster classics and Japanese kaiju films, which are like Godzilla and all those kind of like beasts that they have over there. Developed by Sandlot, known for the series Robot Alchemic Drive. Never heard of that one. And this one was fun. You remember the Norse mythology game that I talked about on the Wii?
Oh
That was
yeah.
like exclusive. We did in our exclusive episode ever. Zangeki no Renglif. I don't know how to say that, but anyway, they also developed that game, so that was kind of fun to find out. Sandlot is a Japanese video game developer, obviously founded in 2001, comprised of former employees from Human Entertainment. If you don't know, Human Entertainment was founded in 1983, and many, 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 many games were made from the NES, the PC, arcade, and literally everything in between. They worked on a bunch of stuff. They're specifically known for Fire Pro Wrestling. Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of that one.
Here we go. Human Grand Prix Racing Series and horror series like Twilight Syndrome and Clock Tower, which I think Limited Run Games is doing something with that, if I'm not mistaken.
Clock Tower is a big horror series started on the Super Nintendo. I think there might be a limited run release. I think you're right.
They also worked on The Mysterious Murasame Castle, which also just came up recently, Stadium Events, woo, and Ultraman on the Mega Drive.
Nice.
Fun stuff. Human Entertainment is interesting because they went bankrupt, wah wah, but many studios were formed by the former employees, including I want to say this is not Nude Maker. I want to say it's Nude Maker, but it's spelled Nude Maker. Horrible name. Which who has been contracted out by Capcom, Platinum Games, Sega, and Konami to help develop some of their games. Sandlot, which of course I just talked about. Spike, who merged with Chunsoft Spike, and are now Spike Chunsoft, right? The company started as
Right.
Mizuki in 1989, but were joined by a bunch of employees from Human after they went defunct. They publish, develop, and localize games, known for Dragon Ball Z, Budokai, Fire Pro Wrestling, like I mentioned earlier, and the, hold on, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Danganronpa series. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
And the Conception series, which is another big one. And then, finally, Grasshopper Manufacturer Inc., who makes the Killer 7 and No More Heroes games. So, very prolific.
All right.
And yeah, that's what I got for that.
Okay. Um. Yeah, most of the games, not all of them, because there's a bunch and there's a bunch of spin-offs, but most of them were developed by Sandlot. Most of the time, if it was a different developer, they were handling a spin-off game. But let's get into Monster Attack, which I think is the most generic name in the history of games, right? Like that could be so many games could be described as Monster Attack in the history of video games.
Yeah.
Um, I like Earth Defense Force. I think that's a cool name and it goes with the story. But in 2003, we get the first entry, Monster Attack. The game, honestly, my first thoughts watching a long play on YouTube, game looks incredible. It's like over the top, the most over the top action game ever. Did you have a chance to look at gameplay?
I did, yeah, and it was definitely not what I was expecting at all.
Right. Like right off the bat, you are running around in a city where these humongous ants are coming for all of the civilians. Literally, there are civilians running away towards you, like, get the heck out of my way. There's these giant ants. I gotta go. And you're armed right off the bat with a shotgun and a rocket launcher. And you just start blasting these giant, disgusting insects. um, and as if that wasn't enough, you can get into vehicles of mass destruction. There's a tank, a freaking helicopter. There's a speeder that looks like it came straight out of Star Wars.
Nice.
This is all in the first level alone. Um, and every part of the map, which this was huge. I remember loving stuff like this, but every part of the map that you shoot is affected too. So like if you miss your rocket launcher when you're aiming for an ant and you like hit a building, that whole building is coming down.
That's fun.
You can kill all the civilians too, which is unnecessary, but just adds to
Oh,
the effect.
friendly fire.
If you want to, go for it. If not, yeah. It's a game about ultimate destruction. It's pretty much insane. You're basically just given a radar showing you where all the enemies are, and you're tasked with taking them all down. Like, that's what you do for each level. Um, Not all the levels are the same, but most of them are. Level 4 has you, like, taking down the mothership where all the ants come from, I guess. It's almost like a boss fight level. In all seriousness, it looks like it might get repetitive killing ants and running around the city over and over, but maybe in short bursts, it looks like a good time. Um, it seems like it would be incredibly easy, and it just seems like losing is not really a thing. I mean, you're just gonna shoot ants all day. They're not really threatening you because they don't have a whole lot of health. You have unlimited ammo. Like, you have to reload, but your actual ammo supply appears to be unlimited. Um,
Nice.
and that's pretty much it for Monster Attack. I didn't see any major review sites covering the game because it's a Japanese exclusive game from 2003. It makes sense.
Is
Um,
it? Are there different kinds of ants, or is it just one kind of ant?
I mean, I watched a lot of footage, skimmed through a lot. I saw the same ants over and over.
No.
There were very few other enemies, and I think, like, I literally wrote this game looks incredible in my first bullet point, and by like, video 8, I was like, okay, it's all the same. I'm so
Just
bored.
ants.
So then we get into Global Defense Force, which is the second game, also Japanese exclusive. I wanted to quickly mention this one because it appears to be one of the better games of the series. Like, it seems to be the most beloved, if not one of them. The cover art looks awesome because it shows you right off the bat that you're gonna have a jetpack and you're gonna be able to fly around. There's like a lightning weapon, which shows you from the cover alone that you're gonna have like some interesting, inhuman freaking weapons, and maybe futuristic is a better word. And I'm not sure that they ever like continued those cool features in future games, but that one looks cool for sure. Also on PS2.
Hmm.
And then we had the first spin-off game, Global Defense Force Tactics. It was a turn-based strategy game. Finally in 2006, and this is a little confusing, they called it Earth Defense Force 2017. This was the first game to be released in North America. So it was also released in Japan and Europe. Right off the bat, it looks like the game didn't change anything at all from Monster Attack like 3 years earlier. It's identical, except it's in HD. Like, it's not a remake. It's not identical in that regard, but like the gameplay, it straight up looks like the same game.
Beautiful. And why not call it just regular? Why call it 2017? That's easy.
giant ants are once again attacking you. You have a rocket launcher and another gun, and you can still destroy buildings with every shot. Um, what is different about this game? It seems like the scenery changes a bit more. You're not just killing aliens in the city. You're killing aliens in, I don't know, in open field.
Lovely.
There are mechs to destroy in this one, which I guess the aliens brought over. And in general, it feels like there are more enemy types. Um, there are more. There are some like pretty horrific giant spiders in this one. So
Nope.
yeah.
No, no, no. No, no.
You probably have nightmares after playing this one.
Sounds about right.
I watched a lot of gameplay, and it seems like they almost completely removed vehicles, which means the majority of your killing of ants and stuff is on foot, which seems very strange to me. It seems like a big step backwards. Like the vehicles, if anything, make it more interesting.
Man, you can even run over ants now?
This game has it also has NPC allies, which I didn't see at all in the first game. I don't know. It seems like in the 2000s, people were really trying to throw NPC allies with you and shoot 'em ups and stuff. Like, not shoot 'em ups, shooters. I don't know. They're just probably idiots that don't help much, and you just try to keep them alive because you're a nice person.
But at least you don't feel alone, you know?
Yeah, alone with the
You got
spiders.
some backup? Yeah.
The monotonous gameplay continues in this one. You're running around blowing stuff up. Seems super repetitive again. I read on an article from Destructoid that the game was known for being so bad it was good. So
No.
I could probably see myself and a friend having a great time laughing at this game. But then, like, you go look at the reviews. Metacritic 69, IGN 6.9, GameSpot 7.1, and Eurogamer 9 out of 10. So, Destructoid could be alone on that one. I have no idea. I'm telling you, it doesn't look super fun to me, but 9 out of 10 seems very high, Eurogamer.
Well, maybe they also hate ants.
Um, After this, the U.S. got the rest of the games. So this was just the turning point there for Earth Defense Force. We get Insect Armageddon, another spin-off after this. It's the first game in the series to have co-op. Featured local and online co-op for the campaign. Plus, it had some new survival modes. This one, again, would probably be more fun with friends than alone. We have several more games. You got Earth Defense Force 2025. Then there's 4.1,
Nice.
which is just an updated release of... Oh, I wrote it wrong in the notes. I think this one is an updated version of 2025, and they called it 4.1.
Why?
There's 5, Iron Rain, World Brothers, and then 6. And this is the last one. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, so this is the most recent one that's out. Earth Defense Force 6 came out in 2022. It's coming to North America this year. It seriously looks like the game is the same and it hasn't changed in 2 decades, and that looks sad and not fun to me. You're still, I cannot make this up, you are still fighting giant ants running around the city with weapons in third-person shooter mode. It looks incredibly simple.
Wow. What? Why still ants?
I know, what is the deal with ants? It looks like there's a good amount of new weapons 2 decades later. I saw a sniper, grenades, turrets, but we're like 20 games into this series and it still hasn't evolved. Maybe the consumers don't want it to evolve. I think that's a possibility. A slim one. Then there's Earth Defense Force World Brothers 2, which is another spin-off that is releasing in 2024 in Japan. We're not sure when it's coming worldwide. How are you feeling about Earth Defense Force, Hannah?
I thought it was aliens and not ants this whole time. Why would it be ants?
They are alien ants. I will tell you that's what's happening here.
But they look like earth ants.
Yeah, they do.
They're just earth ants.
let's talk some sales figures. According to Kotaku, the first game sold 150,000 units as of 2007. I wasn't sure if that was including Japan and or just I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if that was including Europe or just Japan. Um, I could see this game selling well in the US because it is just action-packed, gory nonsense. Like it looks like it would be a lot of fun to the naked eye. Like if you saw a trailer for this and it was a short 30-second gameplay trailer just running around destroying ants, sure, it looks like a blast. Like that's what I thought when I saw 30 seconds of gameplay. It's not until you purchase it, you spend 40, $50, bring it home, and you realize that it's repetitive as heck.
It's just ants.
I could see it selling pretty well. I know you said that we didn't get the game, or Europe didn't get the game until later. Isn't that what you said? The first
No,
game.
I think I said Europe also got the game, but the US did not.
Okay, yeah, that's what I have as well. The first
Yeah.
three came to Europe and Japan, for whatever reason, but we'll talk about reasons momentarily.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Other sales figures, 150,000 units either way is not a crazy amount. It's not terrible. I could see this game selling well in the US. The sequel sold even more, 200,000 units. Once again, not sure if this is just Japan or Japan and Europe. And then there's a lot of gaps in like the sales figures. We go to Earth Defense Force 5, which apparently sold over 1 million units worldwide, which is very solid.
Wow. Success.
And this seems like the wrong number. I wrote Earth Defense Force 6 only in Japan right now, sold 300 million units in the first week. I'm thinking that was supposed to be 3 million units, but while I look that up, you can talk to us a little bit about something else.
Well, I have a theory as to why the game isn't popular here,
I'm
and
ready.
or why it released in Europe and not over here. So around the same time, what was release date? Would we say 2003, 2002,
The first one was 03.
2003? Yeah. So a few years prior to that, obviously we had 9/11. So I don't think the U.S. was super open to the idea of, exploding skyscrapers and flying objects and all that kind
I
of
saw
stuff.
that exact theory online.
That was my reasoning behind that. I guess maybe Sony wasn't super crazy about it. They're like, nah, let's not. And so they didn't.
Yeah, I think that's very possible for sure. It is 300,000 units in the first week, to be clear, for Earth Defense Force 6. Fastest selling entry in the franchise.
That's a lot of copies for killing ants.
So I'm with you. I
Again,
think 9/11 definitely had an effect on the video game, just video games in general. There's
yeah.
multiple games that came out where it's like they had to cancel the release or delay it because they wanted to edit something out. There's like this recalled Spider-Man on PlayStation that had the Twin Towers in it, and then the later copies had them taken out, which I always thought was interesting. So it was a big
Yeah.
deal for sure.
But I don't know why they waited so long to bring it after. I don't know. Never forget, I guess.
Um, it's definitely hard to gauge how popular the series is outside of North America, just being in the U.S. But it does seem to be pretty popular in Japan, especially after seeing those sales figures. I mean, meanwhile, you don't hear anyone here talking about the series. No one's like, "Oh, this is a hidden gem. You have to play it." Like, I've never heard anyone talk about this game.
Nope. Had we not done this episode, I probably just wouldn't have known about this game at all.
Um, any fun facts you want to share?
Oh boy, do I have some fun facts. So, the Western name for the game is most likely a reference to the infamous trading card game Mars Attacks! Exclamation point. And if you're thinking, that sounds familiar, well, it's also that freaky, stupid Tim Burton alien movie with like the aliens with the really big heads, the giant brains, like giant skull faces. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not familiar.
Oh man. Okay, well here maybe this will jog your memory. It features A-listers like Jack Nicholson, Danny DeVito, Jack Black, Glenn Close. No, still nothing.
I'm looking at it. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I didn't know that's what that
Yeah,
was.
freaky deaky. Anyway, the movie was actually based on a trading card game released by Topps in 1962. Wow.
Wow, indeed. Yeah, these guys are creepy.
Topps, yeah, Topps is the people who like make like all the baseball card games and stuff
Right.
like that. But yeah, fun fact.
Nice.
And yep, that's all I got.
Okay. Overall, the series like apparently garnered a cult following after like the entirety of the series received sixes and sevens out of 10. Games are still coming out, going strong every couple of years. If you want to try one of these games, they're all super cheap. I kind of want to get the first two to have on the shelf now, myself personally. Um, Especially the second one, like, it sounds like a pretty sick game, and the cover art is super cool. Um,
Is the newer one? Can you play it online or like with friends, or no?
I didn't look it up. I'm gonna assume yes.
I
There's
feel
no
like
way
that
it
would be really
sold
fun.
300,000 in the first week. Yeah, you're probably right. I could see it being fun with friends.
Going out, killing some ants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Honestly, I think they'd be great in the arcades. Like, they're not worth playing for 10 hours or however long it is to beat them. But like, if I were to just get thrown on a map in an arcade and popping in some quarters or something, swiping my Dave and Buster's card, like I could see that being pretty fun.
Yeah, if it were like really, really low spending cost. Like if it was like one quarter per like 4 hours. No matter how many times you died.
That's
I'll spend
it's
it
pretty
ten
low,
dollars to
Hannah.
kill some ants.
Um, the honestly watching gameplay, it's like it feels like the simplicity of a light gun game, but you're instead it's a third person shooter, and it just looks so bland, honestly.
Yeah, the gameplay that I watched, I believe it was the first one, and while the ants coming at you looked pretty cool, the environments were just kind of like just that skyscraper over there is just a gray rectangle.
There's so much
And
gray in the game.
and that over there is just a gray rectangle. And the background, that's just a gray rectangle. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah. But if you've played Earth Defense Force, please drop a comment and tell us how wrong we are or how right we are.
Yeah, right.
All right, Hannah, let's talk about some custom robo now. Do you have the genre, the release dates, the basics written down?
Sure do. I can get some general info to you. So it's a 3D action RPG. First came out on December 8th of 1999, and it's just called Custom Robo, which will make sense later when we get to the US release. It came out on the Nintendo 64, so it was a big jump to 3D. So of course all the games had to be 3D, which was nice. First and only title of this series released for the IQ player in China,
Yeah.
2006, so 7 years later. It was developed by Noise, which is a Japanese development company that works in partnership with Nintendo. Originally founded for the purpose of making PC games, but later became a part of Marigold Management, which was a company created by Nintendo, and the company called Recruit, which is a telecommunications company, which were created specifically to enlist smaller companies to develop Nintendo 64 games.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that.
Yep.
Most of the information I had is from medium.com. They had a small bit of history on the original custom robo. It's like a 2019 article. But essentially, Nintendo was having a tough time with third-party support in the N64 days. They joined forces with a human resources company to fund some new game studios that would make games for their console, and that would be Marigold, like you just mentioned. It was a combination of Mario and Seagull, which was the human resource company's logo.
What? Like Mario.
Yeah. Nintendo's logo
And a
plus the
seagull.
human resources company's logo. They combined Mario and Seagull to Marigold or Marigold.
Mwah. Beautiful.
So developer Noise had existed just a few years prior to them reaching out to them, but they started out with a team of 10 people in 1996. They were planning to develop games for PC, but literally a few months maybe after they were founded, Marigold hit them up and said, "Hey, we'll give y'all money to develop for the N64. It's a win-win." So they accepted, and the president of Nintendo at the time, Hiroshi Yamauchi, we've mentioned him before for sure. He was great. He was against RPGs at the time. He said that they were against the family-friendly appearance that Nintendo was always going for.
What?
Um, which like that totally lines up with like how few RPGs exist on the N64. Like there's like 5 or less.
Curse those RPGs. Why?
Um, and that was definitely going to go against Noise's idea for a new game, which would have had players building and customizing giant robots. And get this, Shigeru Miyamoto himself stepped up and was like, "This game looks pretty great." And he was like, Hiroshi Yamauchi was like, "You know what? Your opinion is such like an important part of this company that we're going to greenlight this game." And that's how it went down. Um,
Wow.
And I guess the game was evidently successful enough to warrant Nintendo bringing them back for future contract work because there are sequels. Um, and as far as sales figures, it says on Wikipedia that the game was a commercial success, and there's no source there, so it's got to be true.
Right.
Um, no, we do have some sales figures a little bit later on, but let's talk about the games and the gameplay, Hannah.
So, just an overview of the story for the first one. So, it's pretty simple. Just think of it like if Pokemon were actually with like cute little robots instead. So, you're a child, you wake up dreaming about fighting robots, and you're given a mysterious cube from your parents as a gift. This cube is actually like the ability to create your own little robo. He is the robot. Story is basically like Pokemon, like I said, you're a beginner in the world of robos, and then you find yourself challenging better and better opponents. You know, you make friends along the way, you make the enemies along the way. There's even a super secret, like, evil organization that's trying to take over the world with robots by using, like, illegal parts. So, again, it's just Pokemon, but with robots.
Crazy.
Let's see. There are 5 games total. The first one being just called Custom Robo. Second one is... Actually, you know what? I'll talk about that one a little bit first. So, as far as gameplay goes, before every battle starts, you have the option to change the left arm, which is like your gun, your right arm, which is like a bomb setting, like something that's ranged, a pod on your back, and then your legs, which obviously affect movement. There are a bunch of different options for everything, so being able to like customize all the different things gives you a bunch of different combinations and strategies. As far as that, you just kind of like roam around the town, challenge all these people, and you beat the game by getting all of the parts. So every time you battle somebody and they lose, you get a part. And then you can customize that in the next battle. Essentially, these battles take place in tiny arenas, or I think they're called Holosseums. I think that's the word that they said. It's basically like a little box that you put these cute little chibi robos in, and then you duke it out with all the custom weapons you have on your arms and your feet. And then the goal is to just kill them, I guess. You know, they get to 0 HP. And then you win. There's obstacles, of course, and stuff in the way, and you can, like, shoot and jump around and bounce, so it's, like, more 3D, but that's essentially it. Let's see.
How fun does it look to you?
It looks moderately fun, I'd say. I don't know. I'm not super into, like, the robo things, but this one looks, like, cute and fun to just kind of, like, toy around a little bit. I don't think it's, like, a super in-depth strategy game or anything like that. I think that if you have the right combination of weapons that you can beat any enemy. I don't know. It's, because, like, that's the reason why I don't like Pokemon, is it's really repetitive and it's, like, the same thing over and over again, which it feels like this one is. It just kind of reskinned to something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I said, there's 5 games total. Custom Robo is the first one, came out in Japan. Second one is Custom Robo V2. First and last Custom Robo game Developed for the Nintendo 64, came out in Japan in 2000, came to the Wii and the Wii U Virtual Console, which I didn't know.
Hmm.
The next one is Custom Robo GX on the Game Boy Advance, came out in 2002. First and only Custom Robo game on a Nintendo handheld, and the only Custom Robo game rendered in 2D and not 3D like the rest of the series. I should have specifically looked at what gameplay was for that, but I didn't.
Probably
So
robots
just
fighting
imagine.
robots.
Yeah, but in 2D. Fun fact about that one, though, a sequel was originally planned for release on the Game Boy Advance, but it was discontinued. Was planned for release in 2005 in Japan, but no longer.
All right.
The next one is called Custom Robo Battle Revolution in Japan, but it's just called Custom Robo over here. So, why not confuse the Western audience even more?
Typical.
First game released in North America, like I just said, released in Japan and North America in 2004 on the GameCube. First to incorporate full motion video, which is cool. Published by Nintendo, of course, produced by Koji Kenjo and Miyamoto himself. So he came back.
Wow.
And was like, let me help you with this game. Again, it's developed by Noise, which we talked about. The story for this one, I was watching a review of it because the gameplay just kind of looked the same, so I wanted like someone's actual opinion on it. Instead of like the cute elementary school character from the first one, this is like an adult with like big boy problems. He like can't pay his rent. He's like gotta get a job. His father died. There's murder in the game, so it's a little more adult. And the robots, like, they've matured along with the main character, so instead of like the cute little chibi guys, they're like actually look like mecha, like Gundam, like from mecha anime and all that kind of stuff, which is interesting. As far as like the story goes, you're broke, so you get a job as a commander, which is what the people are called that control the mecha. And everything in this world, like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, is solved by a good old-fashioned battle. So you go around and you battle a bunch of people, you battle the bad guys, you battle the good guys, blah, 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 blah. You collect those parts, and then you win when you get all the parts. So that's pretty much, that's it for that one. And then the last one, Custom Robo Arena, came out on the DS. In Japan, 2006. North America, Australia, and Europe in 2007. Again, developed by Noise. The first title to use Nintendo's Wi-Fi connection for online multiplayer. I heard that it ran pretty okay if you were to go online.
Yeah.
It's the first and only custom robo game to be released in PAL regions, which is interesting. And as far as gameplay and story, it seems to be the same as the other ones. But I think it went back to, like, the less mature. Like, you're not a big boy with big boy problems. You're, like, a middle schooler with middle school problems.
I mean, I wonder if they made it more mature for the American audience.
I don't know, but what child doesn't want to learn about rent and have a father that just died?
They certainly weren't relating to the main character of Custom Robo.
No. And murder. Surprising.
It does sound like an anime waiting to happen, though.
Definitely. I don't know if there was an anime. Feel like there probably was. I just don't know.
I'm a little mixed up with all the freaking robot games we talked about, or we're going to be talking about. The other ones definitely have some manga and anime.
Yeah, they definitely do. We, like I said earlier, we did ourselves a disservice by only talking about, like, mecha ones completely on accident. It was not on purpose.
And so that last one was just Japan and Europe?
Custom Robo Arena released everywhere. North America, Australia, Europe, and Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But there wasn't really super anything interesting about it. I do have sales data, but it is spotty at best.
I have a little bit for the first two games as well.
Yeah. So for the first one, Custom Robo released 330 copies in Japan, give or take, which seems like a lot. Seems like a pretty good success.
I have that it came out in the first week. It sold 32,000 copies.
Okay.
pretty good.
That's pretty good. Then Custom Robo V2, 390 copies in Japan.
And I have that in the first week it was double that first one. It was 62,000 copies. So another
Well,
pretty
there we
decent
go.
yeah.
And then here's where it starts to fall off because I have no sales data for Custom Robo GX.
Yeah.
Anyone's guess. Custom Robo Battle Revolution, which is the GameCube game, otherwise just known as Custom Robo over here. It didn't seem, the sales figures didn't seem to include Japan, but the total across North America and Europe was maybe 370K. So it probably was double that if you include Japan,
That's pretty good.
maybe. And then the last one, which was on the DS, Custom Robo Arena, sold 160K, maybe total. 120 in Japan, 10 in the US, and 20 in Europe, maybe. Which it's not that great, especially considering how many DSs there were out there in the world.
Yeah, I think I hate how hard it is to get sales data for this stuff. I wish it was public information, but it is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Give or take like 320 copies.
I have a couple, or I have like a single theory as to why the game wasn't popular here in the States, and this also
Bring
comes
it
from
on.
Medium. It also comes from Medium.com. They said that the robot building culture wasn't popular in 1999's America and Europe, and they also said that the game was too Japanese, whatever that means. I mean, it's very chibi, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean that's all I got.
I also agree. The whole genre of mecha is not super popular in the United States. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I mean, it's super cool to be able to trance around in giant robots. I mean, we have Transformers, so like I don't know why it hasn't translated.
I
Transformers is
wrote
super popular.
I wrote the same note in a later game, but it's we have Transformers. Transformers is huge, but like a human being in a robot suit, forget about it. We just want living alien robots over here.
Yeah. We want sentient cars. Yeah, I don't know. It never really has been a big thing, even in like anime, like even with Gundam stuff. Like I know one person who has ever heard of anything like that and actually like builds like custom Gundam things. It's not a thing over here.
Yeah,
Like it's the same way how like we are super enthralled by like shooting guns and like the Wild Wild West. Like that would just not do well over there. It's like that. It's just like a cultural difference.
yeah, yeah.
And then, okay, I also have this one. The GameCube wasn't a super big seller over here in the state. Well, anywhere actually. It wasn't like the super most commercial success ever. So maybe that kind of hurt the sales a little bit and the introduction to the West. I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't have any like review scores or anything. I don't know how much of like a hidden gem Custom Robo is on the GameCube these days.
I don't remember specific games and specific scores, but I know I looked and it's like sevens and eights
Yeah, typical.
mostly across the board. Yeah.
I got some fun facts. In Super Smash Bros.
Ooh.
Melee, there were
Oh.
three. I've been improving. I started saying Melee.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
there were three trophies of some of the custom robos to collect from Custom Robo V2, and I'm pretty sure Melee came out before we got Custom Robo here in North America, so that was neat. The third game was planned to be localized for the West, but it never saw the light of day for unknown reasons. Custom Robo, you already mentioned that. The original game released on the IQ, you mentioned that. All the way in 2006, man, the freaking Wii was was coming out in 2006, and China's getting N64 games.
Yeah, man. Good for them.
The only game Europe got from the series was the last one on DS. Original game came out to the North. I'm sorry. Original game came out to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack in 2022, only in Japan.
Yep.
First game only allowed two-player. I worded that wrong. The first game allowed two-player duels. exclusively, like, you couldn't do 4-player despite there being 4-player slots on the N64, but V2
Oh,
introduced 4-player battles.
there we go.
Like, I feel like custom robot building, that's like a great multiplayer game idea.
I agree, especially in an arena like that where you just go full on.
In Japan, Hannah, the the last game on DS, it sold poorly, and the reason is because they released it the same week as Diamond and Pearl.
Oh, oh no.
That freaking blows my mind, and not just because
Oh.
not it's not even just like some third party released it. This is a Nintendo published game releasing another game like the same week. Technically two more games the same week. Why would they do that?
Oh man. Well, I don't know. Especially because it's such a heavy. It was so heavily influenced by Pokemon.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. Bad decision. Horrible decision.
Apparently, developer Noise wouldn't do too much after the final custom Robo game. They did a handful of DS and 3DS games for companies like Bandai Namco and Square Enix. I actually saw that they did a Katamari spin-off, I think, which was like just like the most basic like puzzle game like you see on mobile phones. And then there was also like a Dragon Quest game, I think, that they did, like a spin-off.
Ooh.
But they still exist technically, but like as of 2019, they only had about 25 employees left, and no one has heard from them in years, so nobody knows what's going on with Noise.
Oh, well, that's sad.
One would say there hasn't been any noise from them lately.
Nice. That one wrote itself.
All right, so let's talk about a tactical RPG series known as Super Robot Wars. And the first game came out on the Game Boy in 1991. And I'm going to let you talk to us about some development history.
All right. So it was produced by Bandai Namco, formerly Banpresto. No idea where that name came from. Started as a spin-off of the Compati Hero series. Didn't know what that was, but it's a huge huge, literally huge. So many games. I think I counted 47 or 40 plus. Anyway, huge series of games ranging from sports titles like soccer and dodgeball to Gaiden games, straight up RPGs. So whatever you like, it's got it for you. The big draw of both the Compati Hero series and the Super Robot Wars series is that it takes it takes popular characters from other games, anime, and manga, in like one giant, no pun intended, crossover event, right?
Yeah.
Some of the games, and like I said, there are a ton, feature characters from Getter Robo, Devilman, Godzilla is one of those characters, and then the Mazinger series.
Godzilla.
Godzilla, man. Well, Godzilla's got like a mech.
Oh yeah, he
form.
definitely does.
A mech Godzilla. I think Mecha Godzilla. I think that's actually what it's called.
I think so.
The game used a caricatured. Is that the right word? Caricatured version. Whatever. That word. That C word. Versions of all the characters, so they didn't look like super weird. They didn't clash with other styles of games, so it all made it look very uniform. It's also called Super Deformed characters, or SD for short. I don't know why they call it that. That doesn't sound good. The first game, the Compati Hero series, was released in April 1990 for the Famicom, so then the Super Robot Wars series kind of spun off of that a year later. The series saw an 8-year gap after the release of Charinko Hero on the GameCube. The latest release was on the 3DS, so it'd still be poppin', kind of.
Nice.
And the PSP called Lost Heroes 2. And it was released all the way back on February 2nd of 2015. So it's almost been 10 years since the last release. But it wasn't that long ago. Maybe they're working on something really, really big that takes 10 years.
That is not
like
true,
I said,
Hannah. You're wrong.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, there have been more recent games than that.
But in the Compati Heroes series?
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're killing it. Great job.
Yeah, man. Come on now. Like I said, there's 40 games in that series, so I don't know if you consider this a part of the other series, considering that it's like a spin-off. But anyway, 40 games, that's a lot of games. Lots of genres. Take your pick. And I think I'm almost 99% sure that all the Compati Hero games only came out in Japan. I think. But I didn't go through the list of all 40, so forgive me. Let's see. As far as development info on the first game specifically, the first game in the series released in April of 1991 for the Game Boy. So it was beautiful classic green and monotone blue colors.
Oh yeah.
Mwah, beautiful. So just imagine what it looked like. So like many long-running series, of course, this one had to do the thing where there's sub-series within the series, and then there's like one overarching series, but then like a bunch of mini ones underneath. So I'm not going to go into super detail about them, but I'm going to mention them, just in case you're interested. There's the Classic series. There is the Alpha series, the Compact series, the Impact series, the Original Generations, which is specifically important because it does not include any characters from any manga or anime at all. It uses like its own original characters. There's the Z series, the International Era, the mobile games, which and what's called the Maso Kishin series.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you like this series, you should delve into that, but I will not. Some of the other games in the series were developed by Winkysoft and BB Studio. Winkysoft was created in 1983 and filed for bankruptcy in 2015, unfortunately. But they did work on cool things like Puyo Puyo for the Game Boy, Mazinger Z for the Super Famicom, and Denjin Makai and Guardians in the Guardians arcade games. So you might be familiar with those.
Negative.
Sick. Okay. BB Studio was a result of a merger between BEC and Banpresto. BEC is short for Bandai Entertainment Company. Didn't know that. And it was a joint venture by Bandai and Human, which we talked about before if you don't remember, the list of all those game developers.
Oh yeah.
And then Bandai eventually took control of BEC and Human after they went bankrupt. It's so... I think I find this very interesting because it's like one giant tree and then like at the very top... Well, I guess it'd be the trunk. Inverted tree. At the very top, one person owns like all of these other individual game developers. I don't know. To me, that's just fascinating.
Yeah.
They're like, ooh, give me that. Ooh, give me that. Oh, I want this one.
But I don't think Van Presto is the same thing as Bandai. Right.
Somewhere along the way, it was. So
right, they definitely
BB
bought
Studio.
them.
Yeah. So when you're looking it up, a lot of it says that it's just Bandai Entertainment or Bandai Namco now. But then like it's very confusing because they don't refer to like the actual people who developed it. They refer to like who owns it now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's very confusing. And as far as I hope you can talk about this more because this series had me so very confused. I don't know exactly what the story is in the first one or if there is one at all. I think it's just sentient robots doing robot things and beating up bad robots.
I think I wrote a little bit of story down, and I think I wrote it for the latest game in the series, not specifically the Game Boy one.
No. Okay. I watched gameplay of it. Basically, when you start it, you get to pick your team of mecha from the Mazinger series, the Gundam series, and the Getter Robo series, and then you get to pick your team, and they'll have like the set stats and stuff. And then your team is plopped on one side of a board, and then your enemies are plopped on the other side of the board, and it's like a strategy game, and you have to kill them. That's what I gathered.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I can take it from here.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
a tactical RPG. It's just like any other tactical RPG where it looks like you're looking at a chessboard. You got your characters thrown onto a grid, and the enemies are on a grid. You nailed it with the selecting your team at the beginning. It's incredibly in depth, especially for a 1991 Game Boy game. Some characters have like long range with weak attack, others might have the opposite. Some are good on land, some are weak in space. Heavy emphasis on the tactics involved here. It's definitely a tactical RPG. Um, Gameplay is turn based. When an attack takes place, the defense gets to choose to block, evade, or counter. And then there's like a little battle cutscene we'll play. There are different terrains that the battles can take place on. Like I mentioned, the land, sky, space, and sea. And these have impacts on the mechs chosen. Very detailed, very cool. Aside from attacking, there's also like towers on the map that you can take over to get items. Think of it as like a treasure chest or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the final boss from the game was Gilgan, which is the main villain in the 1975 anime film Great Mazinger versus Getter Robo. So it's not like Super Robot Wars was the first one to start having these mechs from different animes and mangas like fight each other. Like it's probably the first to do it in a video game, but this was already happening in apparently, OVAs like this from 1975. So that's pretty cool. Um, and it's cool if they just like took the final boss from, or I guess you wouldn't call it the main villain from that film from freaking
Mm-hmm.
16 years prior, and they threw him in this game. I think that's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
23 years later, the game got remade and released digitally on the PS3 and PS Vita.
Wow. Rest in peace, PS Vita.
So that's what we got for the first game. I will say that there have been almost 60 games in this series, Hannah.
And you looked up every single one, I'm sure.
Right. We've gotten like 5 in the US, which is hilarious. I don't even have to like do any research to say that this is a way more popular franchise overseas just by those numbers.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I'm not going through 60 games, but we will talk about the first game that released here in the US called Super Robot Taisen Original Generation. You made the comment that why would they go from Super Robot Wars, which is already in English, to Super Robot Taisen, which means wars in the English release? I think that is hilarious.
Why would you confuse the audience? We're
So this
stupid.
is
We're
a
not gonna look up what that is.
I didn't know it until we were doing notes, but yeah. So this game is on Game Boy Advance. Super Robot Taisen Original Generation released in Japan. I want you to hear these dates. Japan, November 22nd, 2002. Totally
Mm-hmm.
normal time. North
Mm-hmm.
America, August 2006. The
Why?
DS released in 2004. Okay.
Why?
Um, After 15 years, the series finally saw a North American release. And let me tell you something even better. The game would not release in Europe until the end of 2007.
Oh man. Hey, I know why it didn't do well.
I know. So this is published by Atlas of America, at least here in the US. And everything like pre, I don't know, 2010 with Atlas is just like the rarest game ever made, right? Like I'm obviously
Of
exaggerating,
course.
but that is they have so many games from that era and earlier that just like it just seems like they printed so few copies and it's weird. But like when you release a game for the GBA in 2006 or worse in 2007, like what do you expect? Like of course no one's going to buy it. Um so like this series kind of ill doomed from the start, but let's continue. The game featured the developer Banpresto's original mech characters rather than tying into any outside licenses, and we will talk about that later some more. But it also had a completely original story. It wasn't the first time in the series to do this either. Super Robot Wars Gaiden on Super Famicom was the same way with like original mechs and original story. The story did sound super interesting. It takes place over 2 centuries after the human race started branching civilization out into outer space. And it's a good thing they did because around this time, a few giant meteors apparently came in and just wreaked havoc on Earth. They just
Oh
destroyed
no.
large portions of the planet. So
Oh
the
shoot.
government was like, you know what, let's go look at these meteors. For some reason, the human government, the Earth government, was like, all right, we're going to take a look at these meteors because we don't think space could just throw meteors at us, like, let's go see what really caused them.
Of
And
course.
when they're digging, wouldn't you know it, it was an alien race that had sent these meteors to Earth, and I don't know what they found inside the meteors. I guess you have to play the game to figure that out. But they found something in the meteors that told them that an alien race sent these meteors to planet Earth, and now that, you know, the planet was like in disarray, they were coming to take over what's left of the planet. Earth government, and currently in outer space, is like, okay, we're gonna fight back. They create these mechs, which they call personal troopers, to defend themselves, and that's the story.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
I think it's pretty interesting. It's kind of, there's a few plot holes just based on the way I described it. I'm sure that it's possible that maybe they fill in those plot holes in the GBA game from 2006, but um, yeah, from the start you get to choose one of two protagonists to play as. Each one has his own unique story and missions. You end up meeting with the other protagonist later in the game, no matter which one you choose. The game introduces a new feature for the series, which is the ability to equip different weapons for your mechs, which is pretty neat. You can also customize your pilot with various skills as you earn this currency called pilot points throughout the game. Lots of customization here, like you make your character better at adapting to certain terrain if you want. That's just one example. The game received a 32 out of 40 from Famitsu, which is about 80%. So I did watch some gameplay. It's just a tactical RPG. As far as like watching someone play a tactical RPG, super boring. But
Yes,
um,
lovely.
it does look very pretty. The artwork is very pretty. The sprites look really freaking good. And honestly, I gotta shout out this freaking soundtrack, dude. It kind of blew me away with how good the soundtrack was. People need to go listen to that.
I bet it's probably from a lot of the anime. I wonder if they take songs from the anime. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I don't know which came first. Oh, I guess I see what you're saying. Like the tie-in shows.
Yeah.
Um, Probably none from this game because this is all original stuff. But yeah, that's a good point for the other games. Um, there was a ton of dialogue. Like it almost seemed to me like there would be too much dialogue in this game. Like I'm just trying to mash through it to get my attacks through. Um, why are you shaking your head?
Because people who like the story and actually invested in it love the dialogue.
It's possible. Could be just me. Um, that's the GBA game. That's the first one. We would end up getting two GBA games here in the US, and I think one or two DS games as well, but we'll talk about those in a bit. The latest entry in the series is called Robot Wars Super Robot Wars 30. So we dropped the Tizen and went back to Wars after these DS games came out, and so I guess to back it up a little bit, we had Robot Tizen games on GBA and DS. Then we didn't get a bunch of them for a long time while they were making 25 more games, and then now um, we've started getting the most recent games on like Steam and I think maybe PS4. Like this one here that we're about to talk about, Super Robot Wars 30, came out in 2021 for PS4, PC, and Switch, but we only got it on PC here. A lot of talking here. But yeah, jumping into the modern era now, we're looking at a game with way more climactic scenes, way more CG, actual voice acted cutscenes. Like it's like 1-to-1 with an anime at this point. Like it looks really freaking good. It sounds awesome. Um, the game was called 30 because it is the series' 30th anniversary.
Of course.
It's not the 30th game. It's more like the 55th
Right,
game.
right. Of course. Not to get
um,
confused.
We've only looked at two games so far, and they were both handheld. So combine that with the fact that this is on a modern console, and this game is obviously a huge step up, at least visually. Um, instead of the game having a typical top-down view like you're playing chess, it's a three-dimensional map. You're looking at it from an isometric point of view with 3D characters, and you click on them to move to your desired position just like in the other games. But it's a lot like modern Fire Emblem or probably any other tactical RPG. I'm very inexperienced with the series, but I imagine that it's very similar in that regard. The animated attack scenes, dude, they look so freaking cool. The mechs in media, like you see them in like anime or manga, they always look so colorful and vibrant, and just like watching them attack in this game with the killer visuals and the action-packed soundtrack, it's super exciting. Like you could actually enjoy watching someone play this just because of these scenes.
It's beautiful.
The series is now owned by Bandai Namco, as you mentioned, as of I think 2019. So they've probably got bigger budgets for these games. It really feels like you're working through an anime. It's pretty sick. Something new they brought to the table with this one is a non-linear story. So it's good to know that even 30 years later and 60 games later, they're still implementing new things.
Nice.
There is a ton of DLC that introduces like a bunch of popular mech series. Like you can bring it if there's any mech series you care about, I'm sure that it can be brought in via DLC on this game. There's a ton of DLC.
Or even like mech adjacent, like Mecha Godzilla.
Probably. Okay. That was a lot. Let's talk about some sales numbers though. I'm going to try to stop clearing my throat. It was getting a little scratchy there.
Coughing up a lung over there, man. Jeez.
As of about 11 months ago, March 2023, according to Bandai Namco's official sales information, this series has sold over 20 million units worldwide, 20.24 million units worldwide, including digital.
That's pretty good.
It says very good. Unfortunately, we can't tell how much of that was outside of Japan, but I can assure you it was a very small percent.
Darn it.
So 20 million is a lot of units, but when you think about like 60 games, that's kind of low. But yeah, 20 million, still a big number.
That's pretty, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
I would consider that a success, especially how niche it is.
Do you have any theories as to why this game isn't popular here?
Yes. So the biggest one is, I've heard this one passed around a lot, that due to the nature of the crossovers, licensing, and franchising is a huge reason. It's expensive. They don't want to do it. And I don't know what the laws are, or like international localization, stuff like that. So I assume that's probably the biggest reason. To tack onto that, too. Yeah. The second reason, and it's intertwined with the first one, is that a lot of the big IPs that are in the games are only known in Japan because it's anime that only come out in Japan or whatever. It's like a really niche thing. So like, why would they put it in the US if the US doesn't even know what these characters are from?
It's like, yeah, a lot like what we were just talking about with Custom Robo.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You want to put it over here, but like your American audience probably doesn't even know what those characters are from and why this crossover event is so cool.
And even if it had caught on over here when they released it in literally 2006 on the GBA, no one was buying it. It hurt the sales. I think we even got the sequel on GBA in the same year, if I remember correctly. Like 2 GBA games in 2006. I think Europe got 2 GBA games as well in 2007. Like, it's crazy. It's freaking nuts, and I don't know why they would wait so long.
I think another reason is not only are mecha games very niche, but so too are tactical RPGs are super niche. So it's like one niche thing versus another niche thing is like a super niche, and the West is not super niche.
Yeah,
know?
That's fair.
So, I don't know. If you're a fan of, like, obviously mechs, but, like, the anime in general, a lot of the stories follow that of the anime and stuff, but like it uses the Marvel like crossover thing where it's like an interdimensional rift, has caused this world to bleed into this world. And it's like it's gonna follow the story of this anime and these characters, but it's gonna bring in other characters from other things. So if you'd like to experience that story and I guess get to play it, but also like add some other things to it, I would recommend For You, if that's your thing. Not my thing,
That is the
but
most
seems
niche
cool.
thing you've ever just described right there. You're like, if this, and this apply to you, pick
Yeah,
up
yeah,
this game immediately.
yeah, yeah. If you check all those boxes, pick it up. If you don't check any of those boxes, or just one of those boxes, still don't pick it up.
Um, any fun facts?
Oh boy, do I have some fun facts. So while we were picking this one out, I got super into the rabbit hole of like developers and like where this came from and blah 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 blah. So yes, fun facts. So before the release of Super Robot Wars 30, which you talked about, not the 30th game, just the 30th anniversary, right? Which is only available on Steam at the moment. I think you mentioned that also. The only games that had been released for the English market were Super Robot Tyson OG 1 and 2, and Super Robot Tyson OG Saga Endless Frontier. Stupid name. Don't know why they did
That's the
that.
DS one.
Yeah. So both of which were localized by Atlas, which you said, but Super Robot Tyson Original Generation came out on GBA. You also said that. Developed by Band Presto, blah, 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 blah. But then the third one, the one on the DS, was no longer developed by Band Presto. It was developed by none other than Monolith Soft,
Oh my
or
gosh.
the developing company that does Xenoblade and all the Xeno games. So that one was super cool. And then I think you looked up how much it was, and of course it's like $100 game. So like even if I wanted to play this game, which I'm not interested in at all, but because I like Monolith Soft, I'm not going to spend $100 to do it.
Yeah. I guess we haven't looked at enough gameplay. I'm sure it's just the same. I'm sure it's a tactical RPG,
Yeah.
and not even being developed by them isn't enough for you to pick it up, huh?
Nope, definitely not. But there's also a sequel, get this, called Endless Frontier Exceed, also developed by Monolith Soft, and was released only in Japan, 2010. So we got the first
Hmm.
one, but we didn't get the sequel.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
I thought that was fun.
I wrote that according to Wikipedia, the ever reliable source, North America and Europe actually got Super Robot Wars 30 one day before Japan.
Woo! Look at
So
us go.
take that.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often at all.
It was probably just a time zone difference or something. That's all it ended up being.
Oh, you're right. It probably released at midnight here. That's funny.
And I also found out while taking notes that I own two of these games. I own one on PS2 and one on Game Boy, so that was fun.
Are you gonna play him now?
Hannah, let's not be dramatic out here.
But we talked it up so much.
So yeah, I have nothing else to say about Super Robot Wars / Tizen.
Mm-mm.
You?
Nope, not at all.
All right, we are going to wrap it up with a series that I believe is pretty darn popular and, pretty darn popular in Japan. And, like, I think people over here actually had heard of it. And I'm aware of people that were importing this game back in the day because they wanted to play it so bad. We're going to talk about Sakura Wars. It has definitely gained a cult following. Even if you didn't import the game, you didn't care about the game in the 90s, this series has definitely gained a lot of traction. I don't know. Had you heard of this series before we started taking notes?
Yes, I have. Only because when I started collecting games, I looked up, fun games that are kind of like Zelda or like RPGs or whatever, and it came up. And of course, there's a game on the Wii. I was like, oh, that one's cool. And then I looked up how expensive it is, and I was like, not cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a series that literally I found a copy at a flea market maybe a year ago, here in my city where I live, and I was just blown away that someone had import games and they were like nice, complete in box and everything. And I'm just like looking at his stuff. He wasn't asking too much, and I didn't want to go home empty-handed, so I think I paid $10 for the original Sakura War, or no, Sakura Wars 2 on Saturn, and
Wow.
um, Japanese exclusive game. We'll get into all of that in a minute, but this game had like 1,000 inserts in it, which was just like super cool. Looked like it had never been touched and everything, and I had definitely heard of the series before, and I like owning imports that are exclusive to their region. So I was like, yeah, I'll give this guy $10. But aside from that, the only other like I had this coworker a couple years ago who was telling me we got to talking about old video games and stuff, and he told me about this series Sakura Wars, and he told me that he had a roommate that was so into the series, like he was importing these games in the 90s and was I feel like that was not a common thing. I wasn't, I was very young in the 90s. I don't feel like that was a very common thing to do, like it is today. We have things like Play Asia. You can literally go on eBay and buy anything you want, but I feel like that was probably a difficult thing to do in the 90s.
Where would you even approach that?
Right.
Unless maybe he knew somebody over there. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a little background on Sakura Wars from our viewpoints. Would you like to talk about? Or no, I'm doing the development for this one. So the gameplay and the genre and the release date, we're gonna hold off on all that. I want to talk about the developments because it's pretty interesting. Um, OG Hiroi is a game developer from Red Entertainment. He came up with a brand new idea for a game, and he was dubbing it Sakura at the time, just Sakura. Red Entertainment, before this, had made some big games for the PC Engine, like the Bonk series, and some shmups like Gate of Thunder, Lords of Thunder. Bonk, for those of you that don't know, became the face for the PC Engine, aka the TurboGrafx. So, pretty big series. And I know those Thunder games were pretty darn. I don't know if they were popular back in the day, but they're definitely popular now. So they made some good games. Um, they couldn't find a publisher for this new game that they were calling Sakura, so he kept it on the back burner for a while. Then they get a call from Sega's vice president who hits him up. He's like, hey, we need y'all to develop a game for this upcoming Saturn. Are you in? And Hiroi shares his idea for Sakura, and the VP liked it, and thus development began. The title was changed to Sakura Taisen, or Sakura Wars. It said that the gameplay went through a lot of changes in development, but the setting and story stayed the same throughout the process. They went with a female lead, a steampunk setting, and they wanted there to be mechs fighting each other. Those were like the three must-haves in this game. The game ended up being Sega's most expensive project at the time, and the development lasted twice as long as they estimated it would. So instead of a year and a half, it took 3 years.
Wow.
Sega decided to promote this game under the genre of dramatic adventure because it was a tactical RPG that had features of a dating simulator as well as a visual novel.
Mwah.
Truly a pioneer. Um, the game was incredibly successful and would later get ported to Dreamcast. There's a ton of spin-off, not a ton. There are a few spin-offs and a handful of sequels. But I will let you talk about all of that now, Hannah.
Okay, so I delved deep into the gameplay of the first one because I was interested. I was like, now what would a strategy RPG dating sim visual novel look like? So I watched somebody do a review on it. So starting the game, you're introduced to like a lot of different characters as you would in a visual novel. They're very different, very stereotypical. They have like, you know what? I'm not going to go into it because it's just whatever. Anyway, when meeting new people, you find yourself in new situations you find yourself in. You're given different choices for dialogue, of course, as in the visual novel kind of thing. And your choice is very, very important. How you interact with these characters is very, very important. So each time you get a choice, there's like, if you're talking to another, like a female character, you play as a guy, by the way. I think his name is Ogami. I think that's his name. Anyway, so you're a male and you can either be like super flirtatious with these women or like kind of standoffish, blah blah blah. You can be nice to them, you can be mean to them, you can do whatever you want. Um, but I heard the guy say that you should just make nice with everybody because it has lasting impacts on the whole game. What game were we talking about? Oh, I guess it was Story of Seasons, right? Where it's like also the same. You want to like make nice with
Oh
everybody.
yeah.
Forgot what game we are talking about. It's like that, but like way more intense. Um,
I thought that it was a female character.
not in the first one.
Oh,
There
okay.
the there is a female character, but you're not playing as a female character. You want to romance that character. I can't
Gotcha.
remember her name. It's something Sakura. Obviously, it's what the game's named after. Um, but anyway, so I thought this one was really cool. I have not heard of a dating or a visual novel doing this, but like I said, you get like two or three choices or whatever you want to do. In the game, depending on the situation, gives you obviously different choices, but it also gives you a time limit. So you have to pick whatever one it is in a specific amount of time. And not picking an answer is also an answer. So like if it's a really heated discussion or something you have to like, they want you to just, pick at the spur of the moment, whatever it is, it'll give you such a short amount of time that you just have to pick one. Like you don't
Hmm.
get to think of the consequences. Or
Wow.
if it's something that it's like you should deliberate on, it'll give you more time. It's like start a
Interesting.
war, and you're like, maybe I should think about that one for a second. Something along those lines. Um, each of the girls want different things, something unique. Some of them want you to be super flirty and polite. Some of them like are just totally turned off by that, and you just kind of have to figure out what the traits of these girls are. You also get to talk to men, but I don't think you romance them. Just the women. Besides the visual novel aspect of the game, of course, the other part of the game is the strategy slash tactical RPG. Basically, you're traveling around this town, talking to all these people, and then an alarm will go off, and then you have to like go gadget deploy your freaking mecha, and all the characters jump into their mecha, and they go fight on like a typical strategy tactical RPG chessboard, blah 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 moves. There's ranged attacks, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Um, and like I said earlier, talking to people is important because it determines like the stats. So like the more I don't know, comfortable you are around these girls and the more like you raise their stats, the stronger they are, the harder they hit, the sooner they come up in the fight. So all super important. It's not just like three separate genres. It's like very much all into one, which I thought
Nice.
was cool. And then as far as gameplay as that goes, it's not very I don't want to say enthralling. It's not very like in depth. It's a very basic, bare minimum strategy RPG. It's not gonna like if you're really into that, it's not gonna tickle your fancy. If you know what I'm saying. Let's see. What else do I have about it? The game is very episodic. So like it's basically playing like an anime would be. So like in one episode there's a problem, you gotta solve it. By the end of the episode you solve it, go to the next episode. That one, there's an external enemy you have to fight, internal problem. At the end of it, you figure out whatever the solution is to that problem. You beat the enemy next episode. The game even starts with a fully voice acted anime opening, and it's
Oh heck
beautiful.
yeah.
Let's see. Also, the cutscenes in the game are completely animated. Looks super good. It really just looks like you're playing and watching an anime, which is super impressive for that time. Dreamcast
Yeah.
was just super impressive. I don't think people mention that enough.
Well, the first one was Saturn. First two were Saturn, or maybe just the first one.
Okay, the Saturn. Stupid. I don't know my Sega stuff. Other than that, this is a weird thing that I figured out. So a lot of the, obviously, like I said, it's all voice acted. The women who are chosen to voice act these girls in the game were like super prolific in their field, super good at voice acting. But like they weren't picked because of that. They were picked apparently, I think by the director, producer of the game, or whatever, because of their on-stage presence. And then in like this weird world of like online or like on stage live performance, the girls who voiced the characters also voiced it in like live action, and they're like singing and dancing and like a weird Sakura Wars play.
That's awesome.
I don't know why that's a thing. I don't know where that became a thing, but it's a thing. Very interesting. It's different over there. Oh boy. All right, now list of games, right? Buckle
I
up,
thought I
y'all.
thought you had just started on the first game.
That is the first, but then here comes the rest. You ready?
I'm ready.
Sakura Wars, the first one, came out in Japan first on September 27th, 1996, which is the one I was talking about, for the Sega Saturn. Then 2000 on the Dreamcast, 2003 for the PS2 as a remake, and then the PSP in 2006. So they milked this game for a long time,
And
10
we didn't get
years,
any of it.
and we got none of it. Sakura Wars 2, Thou Shalt Not Die, came out first on the Saturn in Japan on April 4th of 1998. Dreamcast in 2000 and PSP in 2006. Again, milked it. Then we have Sakura Wars 3, Is Paris Burning?
I love
Released
all
in
the
Japan.
stupid titles. I love them.
Yeah. Mwah. For release first in Japan on the Dreamcast on March 22nd, 2001. And then PS2 in 2005. The fourth one, Sakura Wars 4, Fall in Love, Maidens. I don't know. Released in Japan on March of 2002 on the Dreamcast and on the Dreamcast. The fifth one, which completely dropped the naming convention of 1, 2, 3, 4, which is called Sakura Wars So Long, My Love, because it came to the US, so we had to start with 1 again. Came out in Japan on July 7th of 2005. And then, like I said, it was first come out in the US on March 30th of 2010. Good old 5 years later. Also came to Europe in 2010. So they got one. And then again, this was a soft reboot of the other ones. And in Japan, it's called Shin Sakura Wars, which if you ever see the word Shin, just means new. But it's just called Sakura Wars over here. So, very confusing. Came out in Japan on December 12th, 2019. Saw a worldwide release on April 29th, 2020. And like I said, this is a soft reboot that's set 12 years after So Long, My Love, which was the one that came out of the Wii and the PS2.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's that. And then, oh god. And then it's got so many spin-offs, which I wrote about some of them. Did wrote about all of them.
Totally
Let's
fine.
see. The first ones are Hanagumi Tyson, Hanagumi Tyson Columns, which is a puzzle game. That one also received a sequel. Then there's side stories and prequels that like kind of fill in the gaps between some of the games and also like take specific characters and like, okay, now what would they do on their little journey or whatever. Tons of those. Most of them are more visual novels, dating sim kind of thing. But then they also have a roguelike / strategy tactical game. And then I believe they have a straight hack and slash action game. So they went all over the world with that one.
So you've been calling
yeah.
these games like Sakura Wars and the Super Robot Wars. You've been calling them strategy RPGs, and I'm pretty sure they're tactical, Hannah.
Well, see, now I would disagree because the Wikipedia disagrees.
The
No, a lot
Wikipedia
of
agrees
reviews.
with me.
A lot of the reviews and like things that I have said will put it slash because I guess it takes some elements from some things. But I know
Oh
we did
boy.
a whole episode on tactical versus strategy, and I will just take your word for it.
We did a whole episode on
still don't remember.
genres, and maybe 2 episodes on genres. I still don't know anything about genres. That's a fact.
Yeah. So, okay, it's tactical. But yeah, none of those came out in the US. They all came out in Japan. If you're really into it and you really like those stories, go play those. I'm sure there's one giant, really confusing timeline out there that you can follow. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's a big franchise over there.
Yeah, absolutely. They became like the best-selling games on their respective consoles, the Saturn and the Dreamcast. Not the best-selling, but some of the best-selling games. And yeah, the series sold a ton in Japan for sure.
So now I have some sales numbers, and it's hit or miss. Some of them might be accurate, some of them not. So the first one either sold 110 or it sold 550K. So I don't know if that's a plus or minus or if that's an and, because then later it says that Sakura Wars only sold 100K, but then the Wikipedia said it was the best selling of the series, selling over 500K. So I don't know how the first one could sell 550 plus 110 and then the other one not be that. So I don't know if it was just taken at a specific time and then cut it off, or if it's in Japan, out of Japan. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, Sakura Wars 3 sold 330K. Sakura Wars 4 sold 290K. Again, those were all in Japan. We didn't get it until Sakura Wars 5, where it sold 150K in Japan, 70K in the US, 50K in Europe, and 20K in other, wherever that is, totaling around 290K. So it was a commercial failure pretty much everywhere.
Except Japan.
I mean, 150K is not that good.
Oh, that game specifically. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Shin Sakura Wars, otherwise known as just Sakura Wars over here, which is a soft reboot, like I said, sold 200K units in the US, in Japan, and then unknown in the US.
I was looking at reviews. That new one is pretty solid, apparently. I'll talk about it a little more at the fun facts, but it's got like a 8 out of 10 most of the sites.
That's pretty good. And then I do know that total, the whole series has sold 6 million units, around there.
So yeah, that lines
bad.
up with what I saw as well. By 2010, the series had sold over 4.5 million units. So one of us is, or both of us is correct. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if that's including like the spin-off games, but like 6 main series games, 6 million, good million each, I guess. Could count it like that.
I did see that this game, this is going into like why the series might not have been popular here, but apparently there is a ton of dialogue. Obviously, it's a dating sim / visual novel and / RPG. It's literally got so much dialogue, and because of that, it proved too challenging for tons of people who were like, yeah, I'm gonna bring this over. Like, they looked at this and they're like, oh, absolutely not.
No way.
And it wouldn't be until NIS America was to come and take a look at So Long My Love on PS2, and it became their biggest localization project to date when they brought that game over.
Damn, so, I believe it.
Yeah. But very cool. Good job to pat on the back for NIS America for taking the time to bring something like that over. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I also wrote that there were multiple games that were going to come to the West at one point, but for one reason or another, they were canceled. Like 2 PSP games specifically. Wikipedia specifically says it was later explained that Sony classified Sakura Wars as a text novel, which made then future licensing for importation and translation difficult, end quote, with regards to those 2 PSP games. I don't know exactly what that means, but there's a reason.
There's one reason.
You have any other theories?
Well, like we said earlier, mecha games aren't super big over here. If you thought the last game was niche, this one is like triple niche: dating sim, visual novel, tactical RPG. Boom! That is niche on niche. That is niche. What is it? Not squared. Oh my god, cubed. Jesus.
She's been out of school too long.
Cubed. I know, man. I haven't taken a math class in a long time. But also, it's very, very, very super anime-y. And if you've watched anime, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just a thing that doesn't really translate super well over here, especially when like 95% of the gamers over here are playing GTA and Call of Duty, and they're like dude bros. You know what I'm saying? It's like not for them.
So. Yeah. Especially, I mean, maybe a little bit more friendly in the 2020s, but like 2000s or late 90s, like there's no way it would have survived over here.
Nope. Negler.
But from a retrospective point of view, it's super unique, super cool series. I mean, it seems super cool. I love that they have made something so out there that's just so different, it's combining these three random genres. I think it's super cool.
And it worked for the most part in Japan.
Apparently.
I mean, damn.
So Red Entertainment would stick with Sega to develop all the games in the series through 2008. Until 2005, Sega had a majority stake in the company, and in 2005, Red bought that software. Red bought that major shareholding back. It was still cordial though, and they continued to work with Sega on the series after that. The same team, I think this is neat. The same team stuck together from both Red and Sega all the way from 96 to 2005 developing these games. Like nobody, I'm sure there was a couple of people that like were no longer involved or whatever and a few people were brought in, but the same core group from both companies worked on these games. It really just like felt like a major passion project. Um and I also read that like the third, maybe the third, but definitely the fourth game, which was on Dreamcast, it came out way after the Dreamcast had already been discontinued. And they were like, because the other three games were already on Dreamcast, they literally did it for the fans. Like, they wanted everyone to be able to access this game before moving on to like
No.
the PS2.
Yeah. Man, they really love these games.
It certainly seems like they do. It seemed like it wasn't completely about the money, and you don't see that a whole lot, and I love that. So,
Yeah. Good on them.
um, what else we got here? The Red Entertainment ended up getting bought out in 2011 by a Chinese company called Ultizen, and I think
Oh.
that company may have been bought out by another company a few years later, but Sakura Wars as a property is retained by Sega to this day, which is why in 2019 fans had been begging for years for a new Sakura Wars game, and they finally got it exclusively for the PS4. And that's the one you
Darn.
talked about.
Yeah, the one just called Sakura Wars over here. Not to be confused
Right.
with the first one called Sakura Wars.
Any thoughts on Sakura Wars?
Um, Before researching it, I would have been like, yeah, that's something I would have liked to play. Now, not so much. I'm not
I
in
don't.
that niche cubed.
Yeah, right. I don't have any interest in it. From a history standpoint, I think it's super cool. We just talked about it. I would like to have the first game on the shelf, but yeah, I'm glad I did this research. I'm glad I did the research for all of these. These are some super interesting games. Not really looking at you, Earth Defense Force, but the rest of y'all super interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I promise you guys, we didn't mean to focus on mechs, but it just kind of happened.
Or wars. It's either mech or wars.
Yeah.
Boom. Oops.
Giant ants and giant
Yeah.
robots.
Yeah. Oops.
That's what I'm gonna name this podcast episode: Giant ants and giant robots.
Giant. That's good. I like that.
All right, let's talk some listener responses then. Um, I do you remember what you asked on Instagram?
I asked, yeah, what is your favorite video game that no one's ever heard of?
All right.
And, and boy, did I get a lot of responses actually, which was surprising.
We were trying to find a good question to ask because we know it's tough to give us a good long response on Instagram. So we were struggling to find something that was related to Japanese exclusive stuff. And long story short, that's the question we came up with. And we asked something different on Instagram. I mean, on Discord.
Yes. So, let's see. I actually got quite a few. A lot of these I've never heard of, so they did a good job. I probably should have researched them before because somebody could have sabotaged me and just done some awful, horrible thing that I'm not going to mention. But here we go. Buckle up. We have the VGDB says, I Senshi Nicole.
Nope.
That seems like a Japanese game. So, yeah. We have Andrew Brennan says, every time I mention how good Boomblocks is, no one seems to know what I'm talking about.
Boom
I
Block,
feel
isn't
like
that like super popular?
I've heard of that, but don't ask me what it is.
Oh, it's definitely not popular. It's a freaking Wii game from EA.
Oh,
Yeah, I've heard
nope.
that's a good game.
Never heard of that one. Then we have D. Kugler says Iggy's Wrecking Balls on the Nintendo 64.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't
I
hear
don't
anybody
know.
talking about that one.
I've never heard of that in my life. Designed by Ampersand says Stranger's Wrath. I
Is
don't
that?
know.
I feel like I've heard of that.
Please look it up. What is it?
It's an Oddworld game. You know the
Oh,
Oddworld series?
no. Yeah, no idea. I do, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see. Axel Chance 0118 says, I say Fantastic Four, Flame On for the Game Boy Advance. It's very underlooked.
I
Like,
have that game and I absolutely need to play that game.
I thought
I
you were gonna say you
appreciate that
love it.
response.
Oh,
Man, I don't play my games.
you're right. Sorry. Next we have Giovanni3432 says Ranger X.
Don't know that one.
Yep. Njunkie underscore says Meteos? No, I don't know. Is it about meteors?
Meteos.
Yeah, Meteos.
DS puzzle game. Looks like Bejeweled.
Ah. Oh, beautiful. I love puzzle games. Then we have Ari Mac 517 says Segoi Hebereki. It is a Super Nintendo fighter similar to Smash Bros. And more people should play it.
That
I
sounds
assume
pretty
that's
sick.
probably, yeah, it's probably a Japanese only thing, but maybe not. Then we
Right.
have Retro Gaming Zone says Perfect Dark Zero because it was the main online shooter when the 360 launched, but then Call of Duty. Period.
What was the first one?
Perfect Dark Zero.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, you certainly don't hear anybody talk about the second Perfect Dark. People are always on the N64 one.
I feel like I didn't know there was another one. Let's see. We have Raz Dubus. I think it's supposed to be ass. Raz Dub ass. Kill Switch. That's what they said.
Oh, yeah, I just posted that one.
Sean Nielsen says Magical Quest featuring Mickey Mouse, Super Nintendo. Fun, short 2D game with amazing visuals and sound.
I think that one's pretty popular. I think a lot of people are big fans of that one.
And then Gamer by Mistake says Dragon Ball Fusions.
No comment. Never played it.
And then I have a Pethip, or I have Ape Thip. I don't know. Legend of Legaia.
PS1 RPG that I know nothing about.
I feel like that's one of them really expensive ones, isn't it?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. So that's all the responses I have. Good. They really stumped me on that one. I haven't heard a lot of those.
I
They got
Senshi
me good.
Nicole looks really cool. It's like top down, like a Zelda NES type of Zelda. It except you're walking around with a gun. It looks like it was
Hell yeah.
a Famicom title. It looks pretty freaking sick.
Hell yeah. Nice.
Or it might even be a Famicom Disk System game. Yeah, very cool.
Even better.
Konami title. All right, over on ye old Discord, Hannah said, "What's a video game series you wish was more popular in your region and why?" My man Andre Funtime Wallace on Instagram said Klonoa, and so did Tyler because they're the two Klonoa super fans in the Discord. Um, yeah, I mean Klonoa definitely like we didn't get the first game over here because we didn't get WonderSwan over here, and I'm pretty sure that there were other Japanese exclusive titles, but for the most part, definitely didn't sell as well here than in Japan.
That's a bummer. He's so cute. Or she. He? She.
Is a boy dog.
Boy. He.
Also, I was saying it's a boy dog because he's a dog. I wasn't calling you dog. Anyways,
Thanks, dog.
Chris X Button Gaming said Toe Jam and Earl. Though to be fair, I don't think it's all that recognized in any region. I love those games, great co-op games with awesome music. I've never felt like the first game got the recognition it deserved as a Genesis exclusive. Anyways, it's a great series.
I've heard of it, never played it.
Right, yeah. I have played them a little bit. I don't know what the heck's going on. Every time I try to play it, I feel like I need to read the manual or something. It's just a very wacky game. I don't know what's going on.
Hmm.
Now I Rock a Teller Suit says, was looking at a list of best-selling games in Japan and was surprised to see e-baseball Powerful Pros, parentheses Power Pros, on the list. Konami dabbled with North American releases on Wii/PS2, but quickly reverted back to Japanese only afterwards. A couple games in the series have released on the Switch, some with a lot of different game modes, including a success mode, where you can get married and buy a house. That's hilarious. The gameplay seems fun when watching clips on YouTube. So this is a baseball game we're talking about, where you can get married and buy a house. Very interesting.
Wow. My two favorite things.
I feel like I've seen this series. I'm gonna Google it real quick. Yeah, it's like these little chibi looking baseball players. There's like a million games over the course of like 30 years that Konami has made. Definitely wouldn't have expected you could buy a house and get married. That's pretty funny.
Well, how random.
Here we go again with the niche of the niche.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ben said Cat Quest series because they're a fun open world RPG game.
I've definitely heard of them. Aren't they multiplayer? Isn't it like a big draw? It's like one of the only multiplayer cute little RPGs you can play.
I don't know anything about Cat Quest, Hannah. Looks
Right,
like it's on
sorry.
Switch.
Yeah.
And it is a
think there's
single
two.
player game, Hannah, so you
Oh,
know just as much as I do
shoot.
about this game.
Damn. Making stuff up again.
Thank you all for the responses. You guys are great. Instagram and Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here, Hannah? We did the episode.
News. We had
Let's
two
talk
big events happen.
news. Yeah, we had a Nintendo Mini partner. Yep, we had a Nintendo Partner Direct last week.
Ooh,
And
partner showcase.
just
my
today
man.
we had a Pokemon something or another. But yeah,
Ooh, starts with a P.
partner.
Pokemon. Ooh. Presents.
Yep. Let's talk.
Pokemon.
Let's talk news. What do you have?
So everyone was hoping that it would be a big old Nintendo Direct like they normally do in the first 2 months, and it was not. It was a partner showcase, which basically just means that Nintendo didn't think that they had a big presentation for the first party game, so they're like, let's have the third party do it.
Yep.
It was pretty good. I will not lie, I did not wake up and watch it live, which I normally do. I slept in.
Hannah.
I know. Oh. And I did the same thing with Pokemon. I didn't wake up for that shit either.
Dude, I had a meeting
I'm glad I
today
didn't.
and I got back to my phone and it was like, oh my gosh, there's a brand new Pokemon game. Yeah, I had forgotten.
Spoilers. We're not there yet. Okay, anyway, Nintendo Direct. I guess the biggest thing is that Microsoft is diversifying and putting some of their Xbox exclusive games, specifically Grounded and Pentiment, on the Switch. So that is cool. We'll see what other exclusives come to the other platforms. I think they're also going to PS5. Don't quote me on that one. I don't care.
I don't remember.
Another cool thing is that Monster Hunter Stories, the first one, is coming to the Switch. The first one came out on the 3DS. Then the Switch got the second one, so now you can play both of them on the Switch, which is cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Epic Mickey Rebrushed, which is the remaster of that Wii game that everyone
Remake.
sees all the time. Remake? Oh, snap.
Yep.
Nice. Coming sometime this year. Then Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance was announced, which I think is just like an add-on kind of to the original story.
That's what I heard.
You will have to play the original one to play this one to understand. I think it's like a standalone story, but don't quote me on that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. I almost said Bananarama. Banana Rumble is coming to Switch. The only thing that looks cool about that one, I've never played a Super Monkey Ball game, is that it adds a cool multiplayer mode that kind of looks like Fall Guy. Like you're on like this course and you have to be like the last one to get there. That looks fun.
Yeah, I think it's 16 players online or something.
Fun.
It has potential. We'll see how Sega does with it.
World of Goo is a thing. It's a super popular indie game.
Hang on.
And
Hang on. I gotta talk about World of Goo. I actually played it on the Wii. I had it on WiiWare.
Nice.
So like I think most normal people had this on like iPhone. I had it on Wii and I freaking loved it. It is a really fun puzzle game, multiplayer, and I'm definitely gonna get that second game for sure.
Wow. High praise. That is a shock. Let's see. Nintendo Switch Online gets some new games. We have Snake Rattle and Roll, RC Pro Am, I don't know, Battletoads and Battle Maniacs, and Killer Instinct are coming to the regular Nintendo Switch Online subscription, and then Blast, which is a Nintendo 64 game, requires the expansion pack membership, the really expensive one. So
yeah, I think all of those are Rareware titles.
Yep, they are. And then last one is Endless Ocean gets a new game called Endless Ocean Luminous, coming on May 2nd, which was there's one more thing announcement. So if you're into exploring the deep, dark secrets of the ocean, that's for you. And you can also play online with your friends. The ocean scares me, so no.
It's a game, though.
Not for me. That doesn't stop me from not playing any other horror game.
I think it looks cool. I haven't played the other two games, but we'll see. I'll keep an eye on it, see if it's something I want to spend like $50 on or whatever. But also, we'll see if it gets a freaking physical release. But I could see it being a fun, relaxing time, like with a few friends, just like swimming, looking at fish.
Swimming around. I'm pretty sure it does. It is getting a physical release. I'm pretty sure it's up for pre-orders already.
Awesome.
And then we already spoiled the big thing about the Pokemon Presents. They announced a new game. I don't know what it's called. It's called Pokemon Legends Z through A, Z minus A, ZA. Confused. Very confused. And basically it's returning to the city from Pokemon X and Y, and apparently it's completely contained in said city. Whatever that means. Obviously the Presents was today. We didn't get a lot of information on it, so information is still coming out. Coming in 2025.
I play a lot of Pokemon. I'll definitely be picking that up in 2025.
What do you call it? ZA?
I mean, I'm calling it ZA. I have no idea. I've actually only read it. I haven't actually had to say it out loud so far, so...
Well, thank you for leaving that honor to me. But yep, that is the news.
I had found out that I have a few pieces of news here. So, did you see that there is a new Virtual Boy emulator on the 3DS?
No.
That is so freaking cool that someone made this, because what other console is going to let you like have 3D? None. The answer is none. This is the only handheld or console that could like make the Virtual Boy look as close to the real hardware as it possibly could. So shout out to whoever did that.
It's the original red and black still?
Yeah, and he added in different filters so you can change the colors.
That's neato.
It looks
Get
super
ready for a
cool.
lawsuit.
I know. The next one I have is a lawsuit, but before we get to that, the so the Virtual Boy has two D-pads. That's how you play the freaking console. Like the left hand has a D-pad, the right hand has a D-pad, and so
Hmm.
he made it so that you just use ABXY as the D-pad on the right hand. Makes sense. Or you can also use the touch screen. Um, that I guess that's all the information I have. It's really cool looking. Obviously, you
Cool.
need to
I did
mod
not
your
know about that.
3DS to take advantage of
Oh,
that.
shoot. Darn.
um, yeah, Nintendo is suing a popular Switch emulator called Yuzu.
Womp womp.
I don't know if someone making a Virtual Boy emulator has anything to worry about, but I can see why Nintendo would be upset about a Switch emulator that, like, there's a guy in my Discord who I'm not gonna put on blast, but like plays Switch games like the first week they release because these freaking ROMs get dumped onto the internet and people are just playing
Mm-hmm.
them on their Steam decks. Like if I were Nintendo, I'd be pissed. I get it. I'm not like I don't know. I hate to side with the big corpo here, but like I get why they wouldn't be happy about something like this existing.
Yep. I agree.
Um
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I think like regardless whether they win or lose this lawsuit, I think it's going to be a big step in one direction or the other for emulation. We shall see how it goes.
Well, the crazy thing is Nintendo doesn't even have to win. They just have to drain these people of money, and then they win.
That's true.
Which is just how the law works.
That's true, except not except, but like if the court rules that like yeah, what they're doing is totally lawful, then they're just gonna keep emulators are gonna I don't know. Seems like it would be a positive thing for emulation.
Yeah. Overall, probably. But I get why Nintendo's pissed.
Yeah, yeah. Um, have you seen the pre-order bonuses for Princess Peach Showtime, Hannah?
Yes. And I ordered it just because of it. I
Which
don't even
one
want
did
to
you
hear it.
pre-order?
The acrylic stand from, was it Walmart? No, it was Best Buy.
Did you see the
Yeah.
Walmart one?
Yeah, the bows, the cute little bows.
Bro, there's freaking scrunchies. I am going to pre-order from Walmart and get these stupid scrunchies, and I
You'd
cannot
rather
wait.
get the scrunchies than the acrylic stand?
How many people are gonna get these scrunchies, Hannah? I need it.
And it's two scrunchies. Bargain.
That's right. A red and a blue, and they got pretty bows on it. Sign me up.
I better see you wearing them.
You
One
will
on
not
each
see me
side.
wearing them. Oh. um, I also just like with the extra half hour I had because you were too busy to record this podcast, I saw that the Video Game History Foundation they have been like scanning thousands of magazines. That's just what they do over there. But they're going to be making like a digital online archive with all of them. And so you'll be able to access
Ooh.
like thousands, like 8,000 plus gaming magazines just on the internet. And I think that's freaking sick.
Like Nintendo Power?
Everything like popular like Nintendo Power down to like the most obscure gaming magazines from like 1995, like everything in between.
That's really cool.
Yeah, like I think like that could be a huge help when we're trying to find sales figures. Like things like that.
Mm.
You could totally find stuff like that in those old magazines.
Yeah, but how many pages do I have to rifle through to get there?
Yeah.
Pages. Quotes.
Let's talk about buying and playing. Have you been buying any video games, Hannah?
New ones besides Super or whatever it is, Princess Peach Showtime. No. But I did go to Goodwill, and they had they had 3 DS games, but I didn't get one of them. I got Super Mario Land,
3D Land.
the 3D Land, and then the new Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS, which I did not previously own. They were $15 each, which I was going to bite the bullet and do anyway. But they have this policy where they have to like tape the games and put your name on it and bring it to the front. So when he taped it together so it looked like it was one. So the lady at the counter only charged me $15 for both. And I didn't say anything because that's not my problem. So I got both of those games for $15.
We have you on record on this podcast as being a thief. You just okay with
that?
I did.
I stole from the Goodwill. Whoops.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
For me, yeah, it was a great day. Awesome day. I haven't found anything in that Goodwill in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
But
what was the one you left behind?
Yeah, that was good stuff. The one I left behind was it's the Frozen game.
Olaf's.
Yeah. Olaf.
I don't even know what it is, but that's enough.
I think it was Olaf. $15 for Olaf? Nah. But you know what? If they would have packaged it, it would have only been $15 for 3.
Right.
Shoot. Little did I know. I think that's pretty much it, yeah. Yes.
I also have not been buying a lot, and it's because I got Disney Sports Basketball on the GameCube. It was like over $1,000. But it was just like, I had a friend of a friend hit me up. He's like, hey, I need to get rid of this. You know, he's having some issues with his house. He had to get some money, and I had to buy it eventually anyway. Decided that this was a good time. He gave me cheaper than eBay prices, so I went for it. So that's why I have not been buying a lot. But aside from that, I got The Last of Us on PS3.
Mm-hmm.
I have this game remastered on PS4, and I have this game remade on PS5, but I didn't have the OG. So I was like, I need the OG.
That would be a good episode to do. Play that one.
That? Oh.
The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah, I'm down for that.
Especially when, like, the second season of the TV show comes out. Mm-hmm.
Clout right there. Clout.
Yeah. Easy.
That's a good idea. I still have to watch that show, but maybe I'll play the game first.
It's so good.
I also picked up Mass Effect. Literally, The Last of Us and Mass Effect, both like $6 free shipping. Like, super popular, iconic games from the late 2000s that I just don't own and have never played, so I'm happy to have those.
Bargain.
And the Grail pickup, Dora the Explorer Journey to the Purple Planet on the Nintendo GameCube.
The Purple Planet?
I know, right? Like, when did she ever leave the planet when we were kids? I don't remember that crap happening.
Where is she going?
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. So those are my recent pickups.
Nice. Very nice.
But you said you've been playing a lot. I know you beat a certain game. I'm excited to hear all about it. Talk to me.
So me and my friend decided to start Hogwarts Legacy. We're only a couple hours in because we want to play it together because she doesn't have a Switch. That one's very fun. Getting to like pick your house and like do your like cute little magic spells. Fun, super fun. We also started playing. Yeah, go ahead.
I think last episode you said that you had tried to start it, but the patch to download from the get go was like 1,000 gigs or something.
It took 45 minutes with like good internet. So yeah, we had to wait. We're only a couple hours in, but so far loving it. But I also like Harry Potter, so it's like you throw anything at me and I like it. Then we started playing Super Mario Wonder. That one's fun. She doesn't like to play with me because I'm too fast, and the camera follows the first person, so you could just like zoot all the way to the right, and she's like struggling over here at the left.
The camera is the only step down in those games. Like the Wii ones and the other ones, the new games, those all had the camera pretty worked out. I didn't like the camera in this game.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. It's not fun because I have to like slow down a lot. But anyway, I'm still liking the game though. I don't really like 2D Marios, but like being able to play it with somebody else and all these like fun things that happen, the interactive things, it's very fun.
Yeah.
I also started and beat Baten Kaitos, or Baten Kaitos, whatever you want to say. Um, just the first one, which is the Lost Ocean and Eternal
Something
Ocean,
forgotten.
Forgotten Ocean, whatever it is. It's just called Baten Kaitos on the first one, on the collection. That was super duper fun. I almost jumped into the second one right away, and I was like, no, I have a job to do. Got to play
Yeah.
Okami, which of course I've also been playing. Um, the game, it like psyched me out on like 3 different occasions. I'm like, okay, I'm close to beating it. I'm getting ready to beat the final boss. And then it was like, fucking psych, you gotta do all these other things. And the boss like flies away. I was like, oh man, I was so close. So close. And it did it to me several times. Not that I'm sad about it or anything, because I got to play, I think I put 65-ish hours in it. I thought it was only gonna be like 30 hours. I was wrong. Super fun. And then, of course, we're starting Okami. That one is very fun, but I will save that for later. What was another one I started playing? I think we
Dang.
started playing Moving Out 2.
Ooh.
That one's a lot of fun. It takes everything from Moving Out and just, like, improves upon it in every single way. It's, like, strangely more chaotic, but also, like, easier in some ways at the same time. Like, they really perfected the controls, which is nice. I
Can you
think
still
that's it.
slap a friend?
You can not only slap a friend, you can slap a friend across the room and across a pond. It's like they built it into the strategy. So if like there's
I
a
think
pond
you
right here and you
mentioned
have to get
that.
over it, you can slap their asses all the way across the pond. It's
That's
nice.
so cool. I love it.
It's very fun. I love it. It's super fun. I think that's it. I think that's all I've been playing. I say that like it's not a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that after all these years you finally get to play some Baten Kaitos.
It's so good. It's so good. Like I don't understand. I don't like I think I said this last episode, but I don't like turn-based things. It just kind of turns me off on a lot of things because I think it's like super repetitive, but like you add cards into that and like a different strategy of picking cards like you do in Yu-Gi-Oh. It's just like the coolest shit I've ever played. So, it's like a weird niche that it's hitting and that's like it's for me,
Nice.
but I love it. So fun.
Wasn't there something weird with the voice acting in that port or something? Didn't they? I don't know. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it.
I have no idea. I just do know that it's all in Japanese.
Hmm.
I think you might be able to change it, but I did not. It's all Japanese.
Something was off about that remaster. I don't remember. But as far as what I've been playing, I've also kind of been slacking on. I mean, it doesn't feel like I haven't been playing stuff, but I think it's because I've been playing so much Okami.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a lot of games, I'm just playing a lot of a few games. I did
Mm-hmm.
mention last time that I was playing Tilt and Tumble Kirby, and I was
Yep.
almost done with that. I did beat that pretty quickly after. Um, I'd say if you're listening to this, or you, Hannah, I think it's a pretty fun little gimmicky game. It can be a little frustrating, but like whip it out on the Switch, give it a shot. It's pretty fun.
It sounds fun.
Yeah. I've been playing Overcooked 2. Always playing
Nice.
Overcooked 2, honestly. If my roommate and my girlfriend are both over here at the same time, we are having a great time with Overcooked 2.
Still trying to 4-star everything.
Yeah, I actually found out I was missing one DLC. So you can go and buy like this bulk bundle of DLCs and it still doesn't include one of the DLCs, which is just a freaking scam, but whatever.
Why?
So I just like it was on sale. It was like $1 off. I was like, screw it. We are gonna play this and enjoy the heck out of it. I'm just gonna freaking buy it. Um, so yeah, we're still working on 100%ing every inch of that game,
God, it's
but we're having a
psycho.
blast.
You guys are psychos.
Yeah, that's literally the 3 games I was gonna mention. I am excited to talk about Okami, but because we are gonna talk about it for 2 hours next month, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not even gonna talk anything
Or
about
3.
it.
Right.
Yeah. But that's it. I think we kept this one to just over 2 hours, roughly, so not bad at all.
Look at us go.
Favorite
Success.
favorite series that we talked about, Hannah. Most interesting franchise that we discussed today.
Oh, why would you do that to me? I guess probably Super Robot Wars, only because I want to play the one made by Monolith Soft.
I
Hmm.
thought you didn't want to play it, Hannah.
I don't want to play it, but like if you maybe choose one, it would be that one.
I don't know that I care enough about any of these to play them myself,
Hey,
but
you made me pick.
I know. I think I would go with Super Robot Wars, and I think I would go with like the most recent one, perhaps.
Okay.
Just because of how good the freaking cutscenes look and how good everything looks. Um, but honestly, tactical RPG just doesn't scratch the itch for me. I'm knocking it before I try it. I'm knocking the entire genre before I try it.
I thought you were gonna say ants.
You know, I kind of want to say the latest Ants game because I could totally play it with friends online. Also sounds boring. I don't know.
No,
I'm going Super
killing
Robot
ants.
Tizen.
Good choice. Good choice.
Quick like update, I suppose. We're gonna continue uploading everywhere we normally do. This isn't even like a major update, so that's why I'm mentioning it at the end of the podcast. But on YouTube, we're going to start. YouTube has like upgraded its I don't know, its layout, its user interface for podcasts. They're trying to become super podcast friendly. And it takes more time than you would expect for me to go and take some World of Long Plays gameplay and create a video and like create several gigs of space on my hard drive to like upload this to YouTube and everything.
Uh huh.
Um, so we are going to start like we're an audio first podcast. We have rarely needed to show you guys anything on the screen. So what we're going to do is take advantage of this new easy way to upload to YouTube. And essentially, we will upload to all the podcast apps like usual, but now the RSS feed will automatically send it to YouTube as well, which creates less work for us. And yeah, we're going to see how that goes this episode. If there's any issues on your end as a listener, please let us know. I'm not expecting anything weird to go on. Everything should be pretty normal. You just won't have random gameplay footage in the background while you're listening. So, if there's any
Darn.
issues, please drop comments because you can still comment on YouTube, or hit us up on Discord, Instagram, whatever.
Absolutely.
And this is the part where I ask you, Hannah, where can they reach out to you on Instagram?
Game Girl Advance SP.
I am at Bird
Still
Dog
there.
Gaming on all social media, and we will see you guys in March to talk about the great Okami, the sun god.
Woohoo!
Is that what Okami is?
Uh, no, I just think it's just God in general. It's like, oh God.
Okay, Okami it is. See y'all next month.
See ya.